Okay, so it seems like every time you look at your phone lately, right, it's all Atlas 3I.
Yeah.
This thing, 3IITS,
Yeah.
it went from being this, obscure little note in astronomy journals to,
Yes.
well, suddenly it's everywhere,
Yeah.
causing real anxiety, actually, and just, wow, so much
Right.
speculation.
It really has. And that shift, that sudden explosion of interest and, frankly, fear, that's exactly why we need to do this deep dive today.
Oh.
Because Atlas 3I it's become this perfect example of how really new, complex science, especially about stuff from outside our solar system, can get twisted the second it hits the mainstream.
Totally.
So our mission here, really, is to try and cut through all that hype, all the panicked headlines. We want to get to the actual facts, understand why this thing is scientifically interesting, genuinely puzzling, and maybe encourage a bit more critical thinking instead of, mass hysteria.
Oh, absolutely. And let's put a pin in this right at the start before we unpack all the weirdness.
Aye.
The single most important fact, the one you need to hold on to, is this. Based on all the tracking, all the math from the people who do this for a living, there is absolutely no credible scientific reason for humanity to be panicking about this object coming near us.
None.
The threat assessment, it's clear. Basically zero danger.
That is the baseline, the foundation for everything else we're going to talk about. But to understand why the panic even started, we first need to get clear on what this visitor actually is.
Okay, yeah. Let's define our guest. What are the facts on 3I Atlas?
Okay, so, factually, Atlas 3I is only the third object we've ever confirmed coming into our solar system from interstellar space. Third one ever.
Wow, only the third.
It was spotted pretty recently, back in July 2025. Discovered using the ATLAS telescope system down in Chile.
ATLA, hence the name.
Exactly, and its current classification, well, it's a bit tentative. Scientists are calling it likely an unusually behaving comet, but that unusually behaving part is doing a lot of work there. It comes with some major caveats.
And one of those caveats, or maybe just a detail that makes people sit up and listen, is the size estimate, right? We're talking Manhattan size.
Yeah, it's significant. It's not a tiny rock. And when you combine that size with the fact that it's only the third one we've ever seen, well, you start to see why it gets attention.
So third one ever. We had Oumuamua back in 2017, which was just weird.
Extremely weird. That cigar shape, the weird acceleration. People jump straight to aliens with that one too, remember?
Oh, yeah. And then number 2 was Comet Borisov in 2019.
Right. And Borisov was almost, well, boringly normal in comparison. It looked like a comet, it acted like a comet, it had a tail. It basically confirmed that, yes, other star systems have comets kind of like ours. Textbook case, really.
So if Borisov was the normal one, and Oumuamua was just bizarre, where does Atlas 3I fit? Is it more like Borisov or more like Oumuamua?
That's the million-dollar question, isn't it? It's definitely not like Borisov. It's much, much stranger. And in some ways, the data we're getting makes it even more puzzling than Oumuamua. Well, Oumuamua was weird, but it was also quite faint and moving fast. Hard to get really good data. Atlas 3I, we're getting much better looks at it. And the closer we look, the less sense it makes according to standard comet rules. It presents this, fundamental paradox.
Okay, paradox. Let's dive into that, because this is where it gets really interesting, right? This is why astronomers are scratching their heads. What are these peculiarities? You mentioned 3 main ones.
Exactly. Let's start with maybe the biggest head-scratcher. Its movement. It shows these unexplained increases in speed, rapid accelerations that gravity alone can't account for.
Okay, hang on. Non-gravitational acceleration. That happens with comets, doesn't it?
It does. That's the standard explanation. Normally, a comet gets closer to the sun, heats up.
And the ice turns to gas, poof, like little rocket engines.
Precisely. Sublimation, mostly water ice, maybe some CO2 ice. These jets of gas push the comet, giving it that extra little kick, that non-gravitational nudge off its purely orbital path. We see it all the time.
But, and I'm sensing a big but here.
But to have that outgassing, you expect to see something, right? You expect a coma, that fuzzy atmosphere on the nucleus, or a tail made of gas and dust blown back by the solar wind.
Right, the classic comet look.
And that brings us to peculiarity number 2, the missing tail. Atlas 3I has swung reasonably close to the sun, close enough that it should be heated up, it should be outgassing if that's what's causing the acceleration.
Right.
And nothing. No visible coma, no detectable tail. It's behaving, or rather not behaving, like a comet should. It's accelerating, but the engine seems to be invisible.
Okay, whoa, that is a problem. It's like seeing a car speed up with no exhaust fumes and no engine noise.
That's a pretty good analogy, actually. Where's the reaction mass? Why can't we see the process that must be happening if it's accelerating this way?
So movement mystery, missing tail mystery. What's the third peculiarity? Does its composition tell us anything?
Well, it adds another layer of weirdness. Spectroscopic analysis, looking at the light reflecting off it, shows it has an unusually high amount of nickel and also a lot of carbon dioxide, CO2.
Nickel and CO2. Are those totally out of place?
Not individually, no. We find those elements. But the ratio, the high concentration, particularly the nickel, it hints that maybe this thing formed in a really different environment than our own solar system's comets, maybe a part of another stellar system that was much richer in metals, or perhaps formed under very different conditions. It's exotic.
Wait a second, though. You said CO2 is one of the things that sublimates, right? that can cause outgassing.
Yes, absolutely. CO2 ice is much more volatile than water ice. It turns to gas at much colder temperatures further out from the sun.
So if it has lots of CO2, couldn't that be the invisible engine? Maybe the CO2 is boiling off like crazy, giving it the push, but it's just invisible gas.
You've nailed the leading scientific hypothesis right now. That's the main contender trying to explain this. Perhaps the acceleration is driven entirely by CO2 sublimation.
But then why no visible tail or coma still? If gas is jetting out, shouldn't we see something?
That's the crux of the debate. See, the visible tails we usually associate with comets. They're often made bright by dust particles carried along with the escaping water vapor.
Ah,
So one theory is maybe Atlas 3I is very, very low on dust. Or maybe the CO2 is escaping from deep vents or in a way that doesn't kick up much surface material. So you get the thrust, the measurable acceleration, but without the visible fireworks we expect from a dusty water ice comet.
so it could be natural, just a type of comet we've literally never seen before with a composition that makes it act really weirdly.
Exactly. A combination of factors, high CO2, low dust, maybe a specific internal structure that leads to this measurable acceleration with no visible signature. It forces us to think about, well, entirely new kinds of objects from out there.
Okay, that context is huge.
Mm-mm.
So these contradictions, the acceleration, the missing tail, the weird chemicals, this is what took it from just another discovery to this
Hmm.
global mystery.
Hmm.
And, nature abhors a vacuum. When science has a puzzle it can't immediately solve, speculation loves to rush in.
It absolutely does. And the less conventional the data looks, the more fertile the ground for unconventional, even exotic theories. And in this case, these theories jumped pretty quickly to maybe it's not natural,
Right, the alien artifact idea, artificial technology.
maybe maneuvering intentionally. That came onto the table.
And we have to acknowledge this time it wasn't just, fringe websites talking about it. We saw some really high-profile people weighing in, tech figures like Elon Musk, certainly, but also, significantly, someone like Harvard astrophysicist Avi Loeb.
Yes, Avi Loeb, who famously speculated about Oumuamua being artificial too, his willingness to publicly entertain the artificial possibility for Atlas 3I definitely gave that idea more mainstream traction.
And they weren't just saying maybe it's aliens. They were connecting it sometimes to the idea of impact risk,
Mm.
right? Like if this were artificial